Alright guys, I'm sure no one here knows who this is. Mel has been just a stalwart figure in the terrain community for a very long time, and I was ever so lucky that we were able to see him first at Adepticon, and we took him around to some places that he's never like Hobby Lobbies and Michael's, the plane that all terrain people just live in. This poor man has not been exposed to that.
That was a journey and a half, wasn't it? That was just drooling
He
through those
loved
hours.
it. It was amazing. And one of the things I wanted to do is, like I said, I've known Mel pretty much since he started on YouTube, and we go back about 5 years.
Yeah,
I want to
you
say.
were one of the first channels I followed when I came to YouTube.
Where I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Cool.
yeah, you, Mike, Carl Lupin. I mean, you were the founders.
Yeah. Mike does amazing work.
You know, and Carl Lupin's disappeared now. And
Yeah,
he was amazing as well, and his approach, simple approach, and you were just so prolific. I mean, the amount of terrain you were knocking out.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm still envious of that today, but to be perfectly honest.
Well, let me tell you, you've done a ton of catching up to do. And what I wanted to do is I kind of want to share your journey from YouTube up until now. So, what got you to pick up the camera?
Oh God, well I mean, I'm quite honest about this. It was mental health. I had a nervous breakdown, and I was sitting on the sofa rotting on various meds, citalopram, propranolol and all sorts of things, and just in a bad way. And the hobby's always been part of my life, especially terrain making. And my wife just turned around and said, I don't care what you do, just do something. You're not, this isn't my Mel, you're always doing something, you know, just do something. And I turned around and I said, I want to make hills on YouTube. And she laughed, and you know, and I said, no, I'm being serious. And she said, well, you know, do it. You know, because like I say, I wasn't working, I wasn't fit to work. And YouTube allowed me to sort of show my best face to the world when I wanted to, on my terms, if you know what I mean.
That is a very unique thing about YouTube.
Yeah, because it's post-production, you know, if I had a bad day, and I did have bad days back in the start, you know.
Sure.
Then I didn't have to switch the camera on. If I had a good day, I could switch the camera on, I could be a normal person, and people would respond to me as a normal person. And that, you know, I think by far that was probably the best thing for recovering from my
It's
breakdown.
almost a therapy in itself.
Yeah, it is, and there's also a sort of thing that, and you'll know this doing tutorial work, there's a lot of thanks and love from the community when you do tutorials.
Oh my God, yeah.
You know, they appreciate it, and you know, when you have no self-worth, or you don't feel like you have self-worth, to have people saying, thank you, this helped, you know, picks you up. And so that's how I came to YouTube. I should have got there and then gone and got a job, but I stayed with YouTube instead.
Actually, I ended up doing that, and you kept on going.
Yeah, well, I mean, I know you did the commission stuff, and I did the commission stuff, and I think we both struggled with it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I couldn't make it work, I couldn't price it properly, I was always putting in too much work, and it was...
It's always more time.
Yeah, and it was always... It was a stress, because I was making things for people, trying to keep people happy, and that worried me. You know
Absolutely,
what I mean?
it's very stressful.
Yeah, doing commission work, doing work for yourself and doing commission work is completely different. And so I gave the commission stuff a go, and I gave it a go for a couple of years, and it didn't really work out. And I got to a Christmas, yeah, it was December. We were 3 days before Christmas, and I'd had a commission fall through, and I was relying on that commission to get me through Christmas. And I didn't have the money in the bank to even cover the December bills, never mind get Christmas for my kids and my family. So,
I think I remember
Yeah.
you on YouTube talking about that.
Yeah, I put out a video and I just turned around to the community and said, help. Yeah, and trying not to well up because it's still emotional.
Oh, absolutely,
Yeah, but
absolutely.
I woke up the next morning, I switched my phone on, and it went ballistic. I mean, literally, the thing was dancing around on the table, yeah, and it didn't stop until a couple of days, and I had to put out I went one full day, and the community basically bankrolled me through Christmas and into the new year. They saw it in 24
Awesome.
hours. I woke up, and all the bills were paid. By lunchtime, Christmas was sorted. Yeah. By the next day, I felt that I had to get on YouTube and tell people to stop giving me money because I was fine. Yeah, but
Well, the thing is I think a lot of people recognize what we do as artists is we give a lot of ourselves.
yeah,
And I think people connect with that.
yeah.
And it's very circular. The kind of the more you give, the more you get.
Yeah, and especially in terrain.
Yeah.
Terrain builders are pillars of the community because no one plays a game without terrain. And there's
True.
always one or two guys in the club who's the terrain guy.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and he's the one in the evening knocking out the tables, and everyone's giving him a little bit of a hand, but he's the guy who's doing it. Or the girl, you know, whichever. But
Sure.
you know, and there's always an appreciation for terrain. And I also think we sit in the middle ground between games and systems. Like
Absolutely.
I found, like as a terrain guy, I could associate with any company, and any other company will be happy to talk to me. Do you know what I mean?
Right. You're not
in a
mutually
camp.
exclusive.
Yeah, you're not with a lot of the other channels. They pick a system, you know, and they pick a company and they embed with them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, whereas us terrain guys, we're a bit flirty. We wander and flirt with
Oh,
everyone.
we
to be
do.
truthful,
We do.
You know what I mean?
And I think it's because we love so many different things.
Yeah. And I think it's the different systems that give us the opportunity to try and build different things in different worlds.
Yes.
I mean, going back to the how you know the YouTube thing, along with bankrolling me through Christmas, they also helped me set up Patreon and get patrons on board.
That's huge because
Yeah.
we didn't have that when I had started.
Well,
And I remember you'd have that thermometer on your wall.
yeah. So we'd move our way up, and we'd get more patrons. And as we got more patrons, I could put more time in. Because what happened was I sort of ended up working temp work.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I remember
and-
that.
And as more patrons jumped on, I was able to drop days off until they got to the stage where they said, "We're not employing you for 2 days a week. You're done." Yeah, and that was the point when I went full-time YouTube. But it wouldn't be without the community, and it wouldn't be without the patrons, to be truthful, mate.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, and it has not stopped since there. I mean, it's just got busier and busier. The channel's just grown because people appreciate it. And I think part of that is because terrain tutorials are essentially almost immortal.
They stand the test of time.
Yeah, you know, if you do a video on like a new release, like a new system or a gaming
Mm-hmm.
system, you know, within a couple of months it becomes old news, and you know what I mean.
And not only that, but it's like, okay, you had Age of Sigmar and now it's second edition. So like
exactly.
all the old first edition, you know,
It's
they're
redundant.
you're right. They're
Yeah.
just not getting the pull.
Whereas my hill tutorials I did at the start, are
People
still-
always need
yeah,
hills.
Yeah, and so I think one of the reasons that why you know I have done so well is that the longer I keep doing this, the bigger the catalogue of tutorials I've got. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And I think one of the other benefits was I spent a couple of years teaching, you know, and so I've got an actual background in curriculums and stuff like that. So I actually laid my channel out, my playlists, as a curriculum.
Which is, yeah, that's the one thing I love about Mel's channel, and my channel is totally not like that. When you talk to Mel is a very organized guy. I am your standard ADHD teenager that's grown into his 50s. So when you see the videos I do, it's like I saw a cool anime. This is how to do something really, really cool for this particularly super small
You've
niche.
really got shiny kid syndrome, haven't you?
It's so bad. And the thing is it's refreshing to watch Mel's video because he takes you through all those steps.
Yeah.
And you start seeing the kind of the spiderweb effect on how they start to connect into
well,
other
that's important,
things.
Yeah, I mean, I think that once again, that's the teaching background. You know, when I approach a video, I approach it theoretical, practical application, then connectivity. You know, how we can apply this to other things and that sort of thing. And then by building everything in a playlist, you know, someone goes to the Hills playlist and there's like 50 videos on hills. I mean, if you can't find a video
Right,
to
exactly.
make a hill out of that,
Exactly.
you know, you're out of luck, mate. You're making hills.
Right.
Yeah, and that approach I think has done me very well. I think also there's a little bit of I'm a bit of an idiot on cam, you know what I mean? I have a laugh, I have a joke, I take the mick out myself, you know, I'm a bit accident prone, and I think it makes it a bit entertaining.
It shows it, yeah. It it's like me with the ums. There's a certain subsection of my community that I will always drive insane with my ums.
Yeah,
but
my
they're
yes,
they're
like
they're
what you call
endearing to others. So
Yeah.
it shows you're human.
Yeah, well, we are human at the end of the day, and like you say, I think the sign of a community is the fact that they stick with you even with the yes and the whatchamacallit.
Sure,
the
yep.
ums. You know, they accept it as just that's the way Bill is, that's the way Mel is.
Yep.
We love what they do, and I was lucky enough to get a really good community behind me. I didn't realise. I mean, it was weird. The first couple of years I've explained through, and then once we got to sort of year 3, when I became full-time, it became like a treadmill. Do you know what I mean? I was just producing content, it was
Right.
just work and that sort of stuff. I dropped out doing the commissions and that sort of stuff, and I actually started really focusing on this is what I want to do until I die. You know what I mean? This is the last job I do.
This is so funny because it's like when I go in my garage and I've got all this center, I call them centerpieces, things I could
yeah.
build a table around. I've got so many centerpieces and it's like, am I going to retire? Yes. Am I going to stop working? Never.
No.
Never going to stop working.
No, I sat down and like I say, you know, I've been making terrain since I was a kid. I've been making terrain, you know, I was making terrain 10 years before I discovered the thing called war games. You know,
That's what's so amazing about Mel. I've had the whole day with him. You would not believe Mel's backstory. Mel has just got an absolutely fascinating backstory. But I just want to do that. Just keep going because it's massive.
well, like I say, you know, I started off a little 5-year-old in my mother's craft shop, you know, making little dioramas out of the railway stuff that she had in there, and the old boys would come in and have me green soldier men, and I did that for years. And then we were talking about the wire trees and making the gem trees.
Yeah.
And you know, I was making a wire armatures for my mum when I was 7. I made 200 over a summer once.
My
You
God.
know, and these were brass wire. Really
Oh,
ornate. I mean, I remember. It's a bit skewed because you know when you're little and everything seems big.
Yeah.
I remember the tree trunks being about that big. I imagine now they were probably about 1 centimetre to be truthful.
Exactly.
I remember when I was a kid they
Sure.
seemed huge. But I was doing all that sort of stuff, and then we came back to England because I lived in Wales, and I discovered White Dwarf at 15. And then discovered we got GW in Stoke-on-Trent where I lived. And I went down and I bought a Skeleton Army box set, the plastic one where you got 40 skeletons and the
Nice.
and the horses, just for a tenner. Yeah? And
Yeah, I wish we could do that now, huh?
Oh God, yeah. And I built my first hill before I built my army.
Nice.
Yeah. And it just never stopped from there. Wargaming has always been part of my life, and terrain building has always been part of my life. You know what I mean? It's always
I can
been
tell.
It's always been my go-to. Yeah?
Because
And
it's like, well, to interject, listening to you talk about materials, that's where you so much more remind me of the Camelopian. Because the Camelopian basically sounds like a high school kid until he starts busting out these foot long, chemical words,
Yeah.
and how it interacts with this other chemical word.
I'd love to know what his background is, because he's
He's probably got a background a lot like yours.
Yeah,
because he said he's Scottish.
Yeah, well,
or has Scottish heritage.
He's got a scientific background because I've watched his videos and you can recognise.
You
it, know?
totally can recognize
Yeah,
it.
and I think it's a boom to terrain building when we get the underpinning knowledge in there. You know,
Yes.
There's a lot of people. I mean, it's a bit like what you call it when you teach painting. Yeah, and you can teach painting, but if you teach the theory behind it, it equips people so much better. You know what I mean? To take what
They
they're
can
doing
start
and
crossing
put it out.
over.
Yeah, exactly. So to my detriment, to be perfectly honest, yeah, I'm a big theory guy, and the reason why I say my detriment is my videos would be a lot shorter. Yeah.
But
If
they're
I just
thorough.
showed-
But
if
they
if
are
I just
thorough.
showed the technique, they'd be about 5-7 minutes long instead of 27 minutes long. But I like to cover the theory, I like to show the technique, and then I want to talk about the problems and what and then if you throw in when I go off topic and got to start rambling.
Which is also Camelopian-esque.
Yeah, you do. But people tell me I would have done a lot better if I followed the YouTube formula. Shorter videos.
Like
shorter,
3 minutes.
Yeah, that the algorithm, right?
Right.
Because my videos are longer, I struggle with regular uploads. Because
Absolutely,
it may
yeah.
take me 3-4 days to produce a half-hour video. But that half-hour video I'm proud of. That's going to go down and that's going to be
That-
for decades.
And it's not going to age.
Yeah, it's going to be useful for as long as those
Yep.
materials are around. Yeah, and I always turn around and I say, yeah, you know, if I did follow the YouTube formula, I would be more successful. But I'm happy where I am. Look at the
And
community
the
I've
thing
got.
is also there's nothing stopping people going, because I find myself doing this. Even being a terrain guy in 10 years on YouTube, I will go and watch other people's videos, and there might be 10 pieces of information in there, and I might not only know one of them, and I'll just go straight through the video to that one spot.
Yeah.
There's nothing stopping a person from doing that.
No, not at all. I mean, I should put timestamps on to make it a bit easier, to be truthful. Right here, skip straight to the technique and listen. Skip the waffle.
There you go.
Yeah. But there's a lot to be said for that underpinning knowledge, and you know, the amount of knowledge you need when you make terrain. I mean, I'm not dissing figure painters or anything like that, but they need to understand paint. Yes, so do we. Then we need to understand filler. You know, we need to.
Well, not only
woodwork,
that,
we
but
need
there's
to-
so much thing. Yeah, exactly. With
I mean, we
with
were
shrinking
talking
and
today when we were talking about
expanding.
plastic plants, and should we flock them? Should we watch?
Exactly.
Should we spray 'em? How do you treat them?
And what happens with temperature change?
Yeah, exactly. And there's so many variables in terrain. So I mean, I will be learning forever. I have no doubt that.
And the thing is the materials are always expanding as well.
Yeah, I mean, to be truthful, we're in a boom time. I mean, when I came to YouTube, one of the things I was worried about, and I didn't come to YouTube because of this, yeah, but one of the things I was going through, we got an explosion of the GW plastics, and we were going through that phase where if you saw a table online, it was a Cityfied table.
Right.
Do you remember when
I do remember
was
that.
Cityfied and everyone was on GW plastics? And I've just thought, I grew up making plaster bandage hills and making my own trees, and you know, GW used to support that, and then they sort of went, right, now we're producing plastic kits. They sort of tailed off that in the magazine and stuff like that.
Right.
And so it was very much another side of, we could get to a stage where all these things are forgotten. Do you know
It's
what I mean?
possible. Sure.
Yeah, so-
but look at 3D printing.
Yeah, exactly. 3D printing. If you look at laser cut MDF, I mean, look
Yep.
at, you know, look at the foreground Warsenal are doing, Sarissa Precision, and then you look at Knights of Dice and Vivs, who are combining what you call it, MDF kits and resin pieces.
Exactly.
And
Yep.
composite pieces. And there was a little bit of it about that. We need to preserve the old techniques, because if we don't, they could get forgotten.
Well, not only that was another thing that I love about your channel, and it was a thing when I was coming up in YouTube, and I was doing my own research and doing my own videos, and I remember you going over doing waves, and you're like, talk to the naval guys, and it's like I learned so much from the railroad guys. I would say
Yeah.
talk to the railroad guys, and it is becoming a little bit of a lost art, because when people stop doing these things, I mean, wargaming has gotten bigger, and I think railroad's probably getting smaller.
I don't know in the US. In the UK, railroad is getting smaller, for sure.
So, you know,
Yeah,
it's weird when we start becoming the knowledge underpinning,
Yeah.
because usually we're underpinned by everyone
I
else.
think the reason for that, though, is that even the railroad guys, the naval guys, they're never going to do Mars. Do you know what I
True,
mean?
yeah. We're kind of
our
an
gaming
all bags
systems-
kind of thing.
Yeah, we literally, the amount of knowledge and the amount of techniques, I mean, I have railroad guys on and that sort of stuff, and often they'll say, look, you know, I follow your channel, I'm not really interested in this sci-fi stuff.
Right.
You know what I mean?
They're looking
But-
for the most realistic
yeah, they're
effect.
looking for grass, and they're looking for, you know, water effects and stuff like that. Or you'll get, you know, the other side is you'll get the diorama guys, and they're looking at precise, really in-depth stuff, so they're not interested in the basic stuff. But the war gamers, they soak it all up, because there's so many different genres and so many different scales we play at. I mean, you turn around and you go, all right, yeah, railway models. Okay, there's 7 or 8 major railway scales.
Scales, exactly.
Yeah, okay,
Yep.
diorama models, yeah. There's about, what, 4 or 5 different scales for doing diorama models? You know,
Yeah.
156, 172, that sort of thing.
54 for the really
And then
big.
you look at wargaming, and we game in every single scale and in between all of them.
Yeah.
You know, we can...
A lot of times we're using them. Like, there's
Yeah,
tons
yeah.
of games in 1/72nd.
Yeah, but I mean, with 6 mil, 10 mil, 15 mil, 20 mil, 28 mil, 32 heroic.
Exactly.
You know, we play not only in so many different genres, but and so many different scales, that our breadth of technique, lots of people are starting to look at Wargamer guys. Now, we used to get dissed a bit because our stuff wasn't realistic.
Right.
And I've spent a lot of time sort of trying to explain this to the different communities, that the reason our stuff isn't so fancy and delicate is because we roll dice, we game on it.
It's like a toy. It
has to be.
As opposed to, and I make this joke all the time, it's like I make toys for adults, not adult toys, which are a completely different thing.
That's a different YouTube channel.
Different YouTube channel. And the thing is people don't realize the rigors that terrain goes through.
Oh God, yeah. I mean, do you remember my D-Day board? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember delivering that to the shop. Yeah, the first person to walk up to it, yeah, put an army case straight on the water.
Oh!
Plastic, hard army case straight. And luckily, it was sealed and toughened because it was designed for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they dropped it
It's
straight
scary.
on. And when you turn around to the railroad guys and say, like, all right then, do you mind if I put a can of Coke on your table? And they look at you like, what?
Yeah,
like,
don't
well,
you dare.
I mean, that's what's going to happen on a
Yeah.
gaming table.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, in a gaming table, we actually have to factor space into the build for dice rolling.
Or formations, figures. It's completely different because when you look at dioramas and you look at model railroads, there's no interaction.
Yeah, exactly. It's static. You don't touch it.
Right.
Because, I mean, you've been there. You built a table and you watch that guy put that big heavy unit on, and he doesn't do the lift and place. He
right.
does the push.
Right.
You're like, no, don't do the push.
Or do you realize that this is foam?
Yeah.
This is not hard plastic.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's a little bit scary.
It is as a terrain builder, but our stuff, it generally tends to be a bit simpler because it has to be so much more durable.
Robust.
But
Yep.
we're seeing changes in that now.
Mm-hmm.
We are really seeing step up of level of quality right into the sort of diorama and railroad sort of level, but with the durability of wargaming. And
I think a lot of it has to do with the materials that we're working with. A lot more people are working with resins and
and there's a lot more scenic materials, a lot more scenic manufacturers around than 5 years ago.
True.
I mean, you must have seen an explosion in the different sort of suppliers of flocks and kits and that sort of
it
stuff.
has grown, yeah.
And
I don't know if that's due to the wargame community, but it definitely has grown.
I don't know what community, but it has definitely grown, yeah, and we've benefited from it. I often say it's a golden age of wargaming.
I agree.
Because, the hobby has never been so big. We've never had so many YouTube channels and so many...
I know, and that's such a great thing because there's so many people you can learn from now.
Yeah, and not just that. I mean, the hobby is huge.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, we always used to see the hobby as the game system.
The nerds, the small cliquey group.
Since the internet's come along and we've really engaged, it's all of a sudden like, actually no, my hobby is wargaming, not this game.
Right.
And then all of a sudden the community's just multiplied by a factor of 20. Because you're friends with everyone. Especially as a terrain guy, you'll know that. You're loved by everyone as a terrain guy.
It is, yeah, because it crosses all the boundaries.
And not just that, people like you to make terrain forums. That
too.
I mean, I've never been turned away from a gaming store or a gaming club or a company. Because, what we do benefits everyone. I think people pick up on that. I mean, my community, as you know, I've been doing this Kickstarter for this.
Yeah, let's talk about the Kickstarter.
Well, I mean, obviously, Dave Taylor, the infamous Dave Taylor. We go back to my blogging days, about 10 years ago, before I started a YouTube channel. Because I used to do an Imperial Guard blog called Corbania Prime, where I used to convert my Imperial Guard. At the same time, Dave was doing his Blood Pack Guard. So we used to banter backwards and forwards because we were essentially guard enemies.
Nice,
So
yeah.
we used to have a banter, we got on, and then, when I got into the YouTube, we reconnected, and then obviously last year he did his Kickstarter for his book, which went really well. And, I saw him at Salute, and he got me drunk the night before Salute. So if you're wondering why my Salute video on Watch It for last year was so bad,
a little bit of a hangover.
But I did walk away from Salute with the idea that I'm doing a book with Dave.
That's got to be helpful having someone that's already done it.
Yeah, well, I mean, Dave, the thing about Dave is an editor and a writer by trade. I mean, he's worked for Games Workshop, he headed up all their community and events in Australia and that sort of stuff. He then took over being the editor of the Australian issue of War Games Illustrated. but he's written pretty much for every wargaming company there is out there. So,
What a pedigree.
yeah, and then when he did the Kickstarter for his book, yeah, he went through all the publishing side. Now, he's already a writer and an editor, so he's got that under his belt, but he learned all the book stuff, which means that when he said, let's do a book, it was like, I don't have to worry about any of the book stuff. Do you know what I mean? It's like, Dave knows that. All I've got to do is build,
do what you do
take
best,
photos, and type it out.
Yeah.
So over the past year, we've planned the book out, what we wanted in it, how we were going to do it.
So how did you do that?
I copied my playlist straight off the what you call it. Literally, if you look.
Okay.
Seriously.
Okay.
Go and have a look. Yeah. At the sections in the book.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, open the channel. Yeah. And you back to basics, water. You know, you can see the sections because I just follow the structure because it works so well for the channel.
That's awesome.
The difference about the book is, I've never been able to really show off what I can do. Yeah. I mean.
The book will definitely.
Yeah. Well. Videoing, I mean, you'll know how much time that adds to the process.
Huge
And
amounts of
then,
time.
If you then add in the fact that, you know, I make my living via Patreon, that requires me to produce between 5 and 6 Patreon videos a month. So you have time pressures on you. To
Absolutely.
finish this, move on, and obviously once you factor in the editing, I film on 4 cameras.
Yeah, I mean, just editing on one camera is a bunch.
4 cameras is a nightmare. I mean, it takes me hours just to transfer the data from my cards to my computer before I even have to get in and start lining things up, cutting, figuring things out. So I've never really felt like I could show off what I can do. So the book's an opportunity to actually take it to the level I want to show off.
Exactly. And as artists, that's what we all want to do.
Yeah, exactly. And the other side of it is I get to put all the instructional stuff down without me actually talking live, which means it hasn't got me rambling, it hasn't got me forgetting
You
things.
can think about what you're doing.
Yeah, and I can revisit it. I mean, you'll know what it's like. Once the video goes up on YouTube, it's encapsulated. You cannot go back and add information to it.
Right.
And if you've got like one little tip, that you forgot to mention, you can't really redo the whole video just to include the tip. You can't make another video with just that little tip and say, this goes with this video.
Yeah.
You have to sort of accept, like, miss that one.
Well, not only that, but I think, I mean, I'm still learning tons of new things.
Yeah.
You've been doing this since your childhood. You're learning new things. So
Yeah, 28 years in.
yeah. So I mean, it's always gonna expand.
How much longer is it? 35? 38 years in.
38 years in
Not
terrain.
bad for a 43-year-old, eh?
Not bad at all. Not bad at all.
The book gives me an opportunity to revisit the pages in a month's time when, you know, the dust has settled on a chapter and it's like, ding, you forgot that.
Sure.
Right, go back.
And I've done that in builds.
Yeah.
You know, gee, how did I forget this one major thing? And
Yeah, but you do.
it happens all the time.
Because I mean, YouTube is very much in the moment.
Yes.
Yeah, whereas a book is very much, I see it as a passive thing. It's something I can leave, I can put down, it's going to be fine. I've got 6 months, essentially, to get all the content done and get it to Dave for him to lay out. I mean, I've got to feed it to him as we go, so he's working as I'm going, but we've got a 6-month deadline to stay on, that's easily doable. But 6 months to be able to revisit a topic, refine it, make sure you include it, make sure it's right.
And the
That's
beauty
so
of a
different.
book, unlike a video, like you were saying, you've got, you know, let's say the average video is 25 minutes.
Yeah.
With the book, what I think is going to be the real strength of this book is I can go right to the page that I need to go to, and I don't have to wonder where is it in the length of this 25 minute.
Just flick through,
That's what's so nice about books.
It's definitely going to be a reference manual. I mean, when we were talking about it, I was very clear that I want something that people will have on their work desks.
And that's what,
You know,
exactly.
it's gonna be
That's how
something-
I see it, and
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
what I'm buying it for. Is
Yeah,
the same reason.
It's very much, I mean, I'm not allowed to talk about add-ons and stuff like that because Dave's running the campaign. If it was me, I'd blab all the secrets at once, you know?
We'll get them drunk.
Yeah. You'll find out by the end of Adepticon what's in there. There'll be photos of Dave just hanging his head in shame at
I'm sure.
Yeah. But, you know, it was like, one of the things that I wanted to do was I wanted the book in a decent enough quality of paper that you can paint on it.
Wow.
So if I've got colour ideas of like these colours, you can get your paint and colour match it to my colours on the book.
Nice.
Yeah, but without giving away, Dave was like, you really don't want to like people painting in their books. And I'm like, I paint in my books. He said, yeah, well that's you. Yeah, not everyone wants to paint in their book, Mel. So we're looking at little add-ons to do with that. But the whole point is, I envisage this book to be not something that sits on a shelf, that
gets
is well
used.
worn, that
Absolutely.
has bits of filler on it because it was right next to you as you were working on your project.
Right.
Yeah, it needs to enable builds. It needs to be your reference manual for like, right, I'm working with this. What are the do's and don'ts?